In a field of flowers before a grand castle, a young boy with blue hair kneels before a girl with long white hair. He gently places a crown of white daisies upon her head. Smiling warmly, the boy addresses the girl as Eiglet, about to compliment her. He finishes his thought, telling the stunned Eiglet that her white hair is beautiful. Their tender moment is shattered by an enraged woman in an elegant blue dress, demanding to know what they're doing. The woman sternly orders the boy Heron to follow her, leaving Eiglet behind. The scene shifts to a dark, ominous night where Eiglet stands alone before a tower, as furious voices accuse her of leaving when she was forbidden. Terrified and overwhelmed, Eiglet frantically insists on her innocence. Kneeling in a grand hall, she formally addresses the enthroned king and the woman in blue as her father and stepmother. She desperately pleads for them to believe her mind flashing back to the happy memory of a young heron admiring her beautiful hair. The sweet memory is replaced by the cold, contemptuous gaze of an older heron. Now imprisoned behind bars, a tearful Eiglet lets out a pained sob. A royal official reads her sentence: execution for the crime of attempting to curse the empress, who smirks victoriously behind her fan. Eiglet's eyes widen in shock as she hears the word sacrifice. The official declares that summoning the saint to their world requires a sacred offering of precious blood. They offer her a twisted path to redemption, promising that the sacrifice will cleanse her sins and allow her to return to heaven. Her brother, Heron, now a knight, stands before her and points his sword at her heart. He condemns her very existence as evil, accusing her of plotting to murder his mother with a curse. Her world dissolves into a bloody darkness as she questions her right to exist, wondering if she is nothing but a disgrace. Held down on an altar, she hears the priest begin the ritual, summoning the saint with the offering of her royal blood. As her life fades, she has one last heartbreaking thought: who's gonna save me? The scene abruptly shifts to a modern train station where panicked shouts reveal a woman has fallen onto the tracks. A cracked smartphone lies on the ground, its screen displaying a cryptic message. Now, tell us your name, the one who will save this world. A girl with long white hair stares at her reflection in confusion, wondering how she's here when she remembers falling onto train tracks. She examines her unfamiliar, ornate dress and her long, distinctive hair, a flicker of recognition in her eyes. Confused, she wonders if she's become Prince Eiglet before a formal title card corrects her identity: Princess Eiglet Archteryx. She recalls the plot of a popular game where the player defeats a demon king while getting close to handsome male characters. She remembers the original Princess Eiglet from the game, a faceless character meant only for a tragic role. The game's lore unfolds. A divine revelation demanded a sacrifice to summon a saint, and Princess Eiglet dutifully offered herself for her people. But this revelation was a cruel lie, manipulated by the wicked demon king. The princess was never meant to die. Ironically, the very ritual that sacrificed her also summoned a heroine from another world who ultimately defeated the demon king. The vivid and brutal memory of Eiglet's execution flashes through her mind. Clutching her head in pain, she struggles to understand why she possesses this traumatic memory. She tries to laugh it off as just a dream from playing too many games, but her delusion is broken when a maid enters, wishing Lady Eiglet a good morning. A few days later, the horrifying reality sets in as she cries in her bed, thinking, it's not a dream. She realizes she has been reincarnated as Princess Eiglet, and the original princess's painful memories are now becoming her own. A shiver runs down her spine as she remembers dying once before, wondering if she has somehow traveled back in time. With sudden, wide-eyed determination, she decides on a course of action. She has to run away. But her escape plan hits a wall. She's trapped at the top of a guarded tower and has no magic to aid her. Overwhelmed by her hopeless situation, she collapses onto her bed in despair. She reflects on the official story that she's kept in the tower for her own protection, but knows it feels more like a prison. Looking at her reflection, she realizes that even if she managed to escape, her distinct white hair would make her easy to recapture. A key rule of this world is revealed. The darker one's hair color, the the greater their magical power. If her memories are real, she wonders who could have framed the original Eiglet, cycling through a list of powerful suspects. But there's one person she refuses to suspect: her brother, Prince Heron Arched Terex. She recalls his game persona as the strong, steadfast protagonist and admits that despite his terrible actions in her memory, she used to be his fan. Drifting off to sleep, she questions whether the game's plot point about the Demon King manipulating the divine revelation was actually true. She ponders the reclusive Demon King, who supposedly hates humanity, and questions if such a being truly wants to destroy the world. Lying in bed, Eiglet remembers a bug from the game that allowed players to summon the Demon King. A brilliant idea strikes her. She can use that same bug to summon the Demon King and have him kidnap her. She thoughtfully considers her plan, deciding she must first prove her usefulness to the Demon King. It's a worthy gamble, she reasons. Persuading him to hire her is better than staying here to be killed. A list of necessary items for the ritual is displayed: a pearl, coral, a knife, a leaf, a mirror, and a bitten apple. As Eiglet finishes drawing a complex magic circle, a voice from the shadows mockingly asks what she's doing. The speaker is revealed to be the empress of the Terex kingdom, Manhwa Arched Terex. Eiglet stands and respectfully greets the woman as her stepmother. The empress coolly questions her about missing items from the national treasury, suggesting a mouse is lurking about. With a smug glance, the empress declares that she seems to have found the mouse's hideout right here. Eiglet inwardly panics, realizing she's been caught by a very troublesome person. The narration reveals the empress was a kind character in the game, but, in truth, has been bullying Eiglet for a long time. While feigning an apology, Eiglet endures her stepmother's insults about her supposed greed. The empress holds out her hand, demanding Eiglet return the item she stole. Eiglet's eyes widen in alarm as she realizes the moon is already out, meaning her time is running short. With a strained smile, she warns her stepmother to be careful not to get hurt. She swiftly pulls back a curtain, revealing her preparations. The completed magic circle lies on the floor, adorned with the various ritual components. The empress scoffs at the display, sarcastically offering to play along with her whims. Ignoring her, Eiglet takes a decisive bite out of the red apple, activating the ritual. She clasps her hands as a brilliant pink light erupts from the magic circle, engulfing her. The powerful magic swirls around her as she stands at the center of the summoning. The empress screams as the sheer force of the magic blasts her backward. Stunned and disoriented, she stares in disbelief, demanding to know what kind of magic this is. Pinned against a stone wall by an overwhelming magical pressure, she trembles in fear. In a dark, fractured void, a man with black hair and horns begins to stir. The empress gasps in horror as the horned man emerges from a smoldering crater in the wall. Her mind races as she registers his jet black hair, large horns, and immense magical presence. With a jolt of terror, she realizes the impossible. He is the Demon King. The newly summoned Demon King looks down as Eiglet's hands sparkle with residual magic. With her arms outstretched, Eiglet boldly declares she was the one who summoned him and asks him to hire her. She gazes at him, her expression a mix of desperation and hope. Standing before the imposing Demon King, Eiglet makes her plea again, "Please hire me!" Thinking she's captured his attention, she formally introduces herself as Princess Eiglet Arched Terex of this kingdom. With her hand over her heart, she prepares to reveal the crucial information that will save them both. She warns the Demon King that if she dies, he will also die soon after, prompting his confused questioning. Eiglet confidently reveals his true name, the Demon King, Raven. Demon King Raven is introduced with a title card, his shock evident as he wonders how a human could know his name. Eiglet internally recalls game lore. His name was a secret, used only once in an ad, known only to his vassals. She urgently explains that she will soon be sacrificed to summon a saint from another world, whose purpose is to kill him. This revelation, once a simple game tagline, is now her terrifying reality. Raven looks down at her with a stoic expression, asking why she's telling him this. Amidst flashes of blood, Eiglet desperately cries out that she doesn't want to die again. She explains her escape is futile, as her distinctive white hair makes her an outcast among humans. His eyes narrow in realization as he focuses on her white hair, a crucial detail clicking into place. Eiglet asks if he's truly unaware of her reputation as the powerless princess of the royal family. Raven internally realizes the rumor about the Demon King manipulating the Oracle was false. He decides he must protect this person who is more trustworthy than any human. He questions how she, being powerless, could use a magicless summoning technique and asks where she learned it. Suddenly, a blue-haired knight, Prince Heron, bursts into the room, demanding to know the source of the commotion. Heron stops dead in his tracks, staring in shock at the sight of his sister standing with the Demon King. Prince Heron rushes to his mother's side, urging the dazed Empress to get a hold of herself. Furious, the Empress demands to know where Eiglet has gone. The Empress points accusingly at Eiglet, claiming she summoned the Demon King to kill her. Staring in disbelief, Heron realizes the true nature of his sister's actions. Drawing his sword, he furiously questions if this is how a member of royalty should act, accusing her of attempted murder and working with the Demon King. Eiglet calmly states that she had no intention of killing her stepmother. Heron screams at her to stop lying, revealing that her own maid told him she had been casting curses. While Heron continues his accusations, Demon King Raven observes the silly show and summons a blue, magical energy in his hand. He gently places his glowing hand on Eiglet's neck, startling her with the magical touch. Heron stops mid-sentence, his face a mask of rage and confusion. Enraged, Heron declares he will arrest Eiglet for attempted assassination and destroy the place along with the Demon King. Unfazed, Eiglet looks to the Demon King and asks him to take her along with him. Raven muses on the interesting nature of a powerless princess from the Holy Kingdom of Light. With a confident smile, he agrees to her request and invites her to go with him. Heron watches in pure horror, screaming his sister's name. Raven carries Eiglet away under the full moon as she bids her brother a quiet farewell. A lone Raven flies away from the tower as Heron desperately shouts Eiglet's name into the night. Spreading his large black wings, Raven flies through the night sky with Eiglet in his arms, announcing their arrival. Eiglet marvels internally that she reached her destination so easily, a feat that would have taken great effort in the game. They land gracefully on a balcony where a man with glasses watches their approach. The man, introduced as the Demon King's confidant and a greater demon named Owl, asks where his king has been. Eiglet looks on in confusion as Raven stands beside her. Raven introduces Eiglet as the princess who summoned him to kill the Empress, causing her to panic and deny the accusation. With a deadpan expression, Raven admits to Owl that he was wrong. He explains to the baffled confidant that he doesn't know why he's here himself, only that he brought her because she asked him to hire her. With a sly grin, Raven cheekily announces that he just hired a body pillow for himself. Eiglet and Owl stare in unison, utterly shocked by his declaration. The story's title is displayed against a purple background. In a lavish room, Eiglet nervously accepts a cup of tea from Owl, thinking it tastes surprisingly normal. She sips her tea, admitting she expected all demon food and drink to be much weirder. She watches as Raven's gloved hand reaches for his own teacup. Raven takes a sip of his tea and casually informs Owl that he's hired Eiglet as his body pillow, starting today. Owl demands an explanation for bringing a human into their home, but Raven simply reiterates that she's a princess of the Terex kingdom. Eiglet listens, recalling that even the Grey Prince Heron confirmed she was his younger sister. Raven thoughtfully notes that he's never seen someone without any magic power before, finding the story of a hidden princess intriguing. A magical aura sparkles around Eiglet as she sits quietly. She turns to the side, insisting that she didn't try to kill her stepmother, and was framed. Raven leans forward with a smirk, asking if she, a human, cares more about her own life than defeating the Demon King. A dark, glitching memory flashes of a woman running in fear. The memory shifts to a terrifying image of Eiglet on the ground with a sword pointed at her. Blushing with fear, Eiglet admits that the thought of dying again is terrifying. Her hands tremble in her lap as Raven quietly processes her words, finally understanding her desperation. Raven instructs Owl to assign her a maid, prompting his confidant to protest loudly, fearing she might be part of a human trap. Eiglet looks over, confused by his order. Raven smiles and clarifies his offer. He's hiring her as his body pillow. As Eiglet processes this, he explains the job is just to be a body pillow, unlike chores such as washing dishes. He offers her generous terms, 500 gold coins a month, 3 meals and naps. He adds that he'll even throw in Owl's homemade sweets, much to the confidant's shock. Overwhelmed by the offer, Eiglet's eyes turn into literal dollar signs as she realizes she can buy anything with that kind of money. Leaning on his hand with a satisfied smile, Raven declares that their deal is complete. Dressed in a simple blue nightgown, a nervous Eiglet stands before an ornate bedroom door. Inside, Raven sits on a grand canopied bed and beckons her to approach him. Eiglet stands hesitantly before him, startled as he looks up at her from the bed. Raven rises and gently pulls a surprised Eiglet towards him by her shoulders. Raven looks down at her with a serious, unreadable expression. Blushing furiously, Eiglet finally realizes the true, intimate meaning of being a body pillow. She finds herself on her hands and knees on the bed, looking up at the horned demon king. He pulls her into his arms from behind, demonstrating exactly what the job entails. As he rests his head against hers, a brilliant blue magical aura envelops them both. Surrounded by sparkling energy, a blushing Eiglet wonders what's happening to her. Raven holds her close, his expression peaceful as his hand rests gently on her side. They lie together in a shimmering haze of pink and blue magic, with Raven holding her protectively. Overwhelmed and blushing, Eiglet can only wonder what is going on. She suddenly realizes her body feels warm and a persistent pain is finally fading away. Raven sits up abruptly, realizing he relaxed too much, and worriedly asks if the now limp princess is feeling sick. Tears in her eyes, Eiglet stammers that she's fine, while Raven looks on, with a hint of a blush. A blushing Raven covers his mouth, concluding that making her his body pillow was the right decision after all. He turns to her with a determined gaze. Lying on the bed, a flustered Eiglet listens as he tells her to keep her body relaxed. He places his hand on her chest, causing her to gasp and ask what he's doing. Raven notes internally that she's absorbing his magic faster, assuming it must be painful, and that he's just helping. Eiglet clutches his shirt, her body tense and her face flushed. With a slight blush, Raven subtly adjusts his shirt. As the sensation fades, a confused Eiglet asks if it stopped. Raven looks down at her with an intense gaze. He asks if she disliked it, admitting he finds humans hard to read. A shocked Eiglet jolts upright in bed, clutching the covers. Mortified, she realizes what just happened and panics internally. The shirtless Demon King lies peacefully beside her, seemingly asleep. Eiglet sits stiffly on the bed while Raven silently watches her. He asks if she's woken up, but she remains silent and avoids his gaze. Blushing, Eiglet explains her weird expression by admitting she just understood what body pillow meant, which he confirms. Raven smirks, clarifying he literally just wanted a body pillow and reminding her that she agreed to it. He casually replies that he was merely helping her, suggesting she could only complain if he had actually helped her. He explains that her body reacted to his magic and he simply took care of it, adding he deserves thanks. Eiglet is baffled. While getting dressed, Raven elaborates that she was absorbing his magic as heat and he prevented her from attacking him. He turns away, telling her to be quiet if she's going to complain, as he hates noise. Terrified, Eiglet wonders what kind of man he is and what he meant about her absorbing his magic. Resigned, she decides that enduring this is still a better fate than dying. Raven stands by the door, averting his gaze with a faint blush. Looking out a window, Eiglet reflects that a few days have passed since she arrived at the castle. Now in a pink dress, she sits alone, bored with her new routine of just eating and zoning out. She sighs, thinking about how incredibly bored she is. Blushing, she thinks about her nightly work, recalling the feeling of lying next to Raven. She still doesn't understand what he means by her absorbing his magic. She blushes as she remembers that he only ever calls her by name, Eiglet, at night. Her thoughts are interrupted by a sudden knock-knock at the door. The door opens to reveal Owl, who politely excuses himself as he enters with a tea cart. A stern-looking demon butler with green horns and glasses announces that he has brought the princess her tea. A young woman with long white hair blushes as she sits at a table, thanking him for the tea and cookies. Despite her polite exterior, she panics internally, forcing a smile while thinking he clearly hates her. She recalls that in a game he was a character she had to fight before the Demon Lord and that she beat him up. Taking a bite of a cookie, she reflects on the awkwardness of the situation, having fought him more than the Demon Lord himself. Her thoughts are interrupted as she blushes, realizing the cookie is absolutely delicious. While still munching, she remembers she's in the demon's base and wonders what other demons might be in the castle. Now wearing a pink headscarf, she clenches her fist with a determined smile, ready to go exploring. The scene pans out to a grand, beautiful castle perched atop a green hill under a clear blue sky. She cautiously peeks through a pair of ornate double doors, spying on the demons within. Inside, a lavish dining hall is filled with various demons enjoying a loud and festive banquet. Shocked by the number of demons, she immediately considers casting an explosive spell to clear the entire room in one go. Her snooping is cut short when a demon with brown hair spots her and angrily demands to know what she's doing. The demon confronts her, demanding to know where she came from as she thinks, crap, realizing she's been caught. Clutching her arm, she lets out a pained OWW, seemingly trying to create a distraction. Now seated awkwardly at the table surrounded by demons, she nervously wonders if she's in trouble. Flanked by amused demons, she timidly answers, "Why, yes," to their unasked question. A purple-haired demoness tells the kid to go home for her own good, making the girl realize they mistake her for a child due to different growth rates. She smiles brightly and thanks them for their concern, but explains that the Demon Lord gave her a job. Her explanation is met with a wave of roaring laughter, as the demons find her claim unbelievably absurd. An older demon dismisses her story, while she quietly insists that she isn't lying. The purple-haired demoness leans in with a smirk, informing the girl that the Demon Lord doesn't sleep. The older demon elaborates, explaining that the Demon Lord's body is so full of magic that he has no need for sleep. A brief flashback shows the black-haired Demon Lord, Raven, sleeping soundly and peacefully. The girl's eyes swirl with confusion as she internally shouts, "No way!" certain that she saw him sleeping. The demons ignore her confusion and prepare to send her home, asking where she lives. A sudden silence falls as Raven appears, his expression stern and unreadable. The entire room panics, and the feasting demons immediately drop to their knees in fear, exclaiming his title. Raven strides forward and abruptly pulls the girl from her chair, startling her. As his cape billows behind him, the other demons cower, their faces pale with terror. Holding her protectively, Raven issues a cold warning. The human belongs to him, and no one is to lay a hand on her. The demons look on in utter shock, finally realizing she's a human, and that's why they couldn't sense her magic. The girl lets out a startled, "Kya!" as she is suddenly tossed onto a plush sofa. Looking up at Raven, she protests that it's still broad daylight, confused by his actions. He leans over her, their faces just inches apart, and calmly announces, "Nap time." The intimate moment continues as he hovers over her on the sofa, repeating his intention for a nap. A view of the castle appears as her thought bubble protests his intentions in the middle of the day. Blushing furiously, she pushes against his chest with both hands, shouting, "No." She nervously clutches her dress, admitting that he's right but still visibly hesitant. Noticing her embarrassment, Raven points at her and offers a compromise, saying he'll settle for her lap. She cries out in shocked embarrassment at his forward request. Before she can argue, Raven has already settled down, resting his head peacefully in her lap as she sits stunned. Her eyes swirl in dizzy disbelief as she looks down at him, completely flabbergasted by the situation. He gazes up at her silently from his comfortable position, his expression serene. As he rests, she touches a strand of her own long hair, quietly observing its strange color up close. Raven holds a lock of her hair, thinking how each colorless strand combines to look like white or silver hair. Gazing into her eyes from her lap, he softly tells her that her hair is beautiful. He refutes her past belief that her hair was a curse, sincerely telling her again that he finds it beautiful. Raven asks the silver-haired girl what she thinks about his compliment. Touched by his words, tears begin to stream down her face. Confused by her sudden tears, Raven asks why she is crying. Overwhelmed with emotion, she sobs that she doesn't know why. Wiping her tears, she wonders why a demon is kinder than a human, thinking it defies everything she thought she knew. In a memory, a horned demon confirms that, generally, demons don't like humans. Raven chastises her for her prejudice, explaining he's warning her because she might get hurt. Still teary-eyed, she realizes he sounds genuinely worried about her. Looking up at her with sincerity, Raven confirms that he is worried. Her eyes widen in stunned silence at his declaration. With a rustle, Raven sits up on the sofa beside the startled girl. He extends a hand, offering to let her join him in the office if she's bored. Blushing furiously, she insists she was joking, terrified that she's making him hate her even more. A memory of Raven's gentle, smiling face appears in her mind. As they walk, she recalls the demon's claim that he doesn't sleep, and he clarifies that's not quite right. Raven explains it's not that he doesn't sleep, but that he can't due to his infinite magic power. He turns to her and adds that his sleeplessness was only a problem before she arrived. Confused by his meaning, she cautiously offers to be his lap pillow. Raven smiles warmly, gratefully accepting her offer. Sometime later, she's stunned to see he has actually fallen fast asleep in her lap. She theorizes that his immense magic might cause insomnia, realizing its hidden lore the game never revealed. She gazes down at his peaceful, sleeping face. Gently stroking his hair, she marvels at its obsidian beauty. She runs her fingers through his thick black hair. A strange tingling in her fingertips makes her blush, reminding her of how she feels at night. Pondering her reaction, she wonders why she gets that feeling only when he holds her in bed. With a soft smile, she thinks she wouldn't mind this at all if things could always stay this way. The scene shifts to a town where people lie defeated on the ground as someone murmurs in shock. A demoness named Puffin stands over the fallen humans, mocking their foolishness for defying her. Blushing, Puffin admits she already misses the Demon King and wants to return to him. With a devious smile, she wonders if the Demon King will praise her for killing all the humans. Back in the castle, the girl and Raven sleep soundly. Raven sleeps peacefully, his face calm in the quiet of the night. The two are shown sleeping together, held in a gentle embrace. A new chapter in their story begins. Morning light streams into the grand bedroom, illuminating the new day. She stretches with a big yawn, exclaiming how well she slept. Raven lies watching her, remaining silent. Getting out of bed, she begins to wonder about breakfast. Kya! She lets out a startled scream as she's suddenly pulled backward. Panicked, she shakes him and shouts that Lord Puffin has returned to the castle. He jolts upright, now awake and alert, startling her with his sudden movement. She stares at him with a look of confused concern. A demoness with black pigtails bursts into the room, shouting for her lord. Puffin joyfully announces her return to her beloved Demon King. She looks on, with an expression of smug adoration. Puffin proudly reports that she has successfully repelled the reckless humans who dared trespass. Blushing, Puffin reports that in addition to chasing stragglers, they also drove off a nearby human army. Puffin bows low on the bed before the Demon King, Raven, and the silver-haired girl. The silver-haired girl watches the scene unfold with a shy, slightly flustered expression. Puffin aggressively confronts the silver-haired girl, demanding to know who she is, while the girl timidly asks the same question. Puffin strikes a confident pose, introducing herself as a high-born noble and a member of the Demon Army's Special Task Force. The silver-haired girl is stunned, internally repeating the words, Special Task Force of the Demon Army. As a chibi Puffin looks on smugly, the girl thinks to herself that she's never heard of it. Puffin clings to Raven, jealously accusing him of getting another maid. But he ignores her and asks his aide, Owl, for a report. Huh. With a smug grin, Puffin tightens her grip on Raven's arm. The silver-haired girl sighs in resignation, thinking that she's just a body pillow after all. With her head down, she turns and walks out of the room. As she walks down the hall, two demon maids whisper to each other while watching her. She continues down the corridor, the two maids still observing her with curious expressions. She stops in the empty hallway, a pensive and lonely look on her face. Remembering when Raven declared her as his, she realizes that's why everyone in the castle now keeps their distance. Wandering alone, she wishes someone would talk to her and then stops as a noise catches her attention. Peeking through a window, she sees two demons sparring with swords and identifies it as training. A light bulb flashes over her head as she gets an idea, exclaiming, "That's it!" She cautiously approaches the two sparring demons to get their attention. With her hair tied back and a sword in hand, she looks determined and ready. She enthusiastically asks the two surprised demons if she can please join their training. She resolves to build up her stamina and learn self-defense before she eventually has to leave the castle. A crowd of demons gathers, whispering about the human and what she's trying to do. Puffin appears in the crowd, looking on with suspicion as she wonders why a human is there. As she faces her opponent, she thinks that although she maxed out her stats in the game, it's her first time holding a real sword. Gulp. She admits to herself that it's scary but strengthens her resolve to go through with it. The demon soldier raises his sword and begins his attack. Her eye widens in surprise as she senses something unusual, wondering what's happening. She's shocked by how light her body suddenly feels. Thud. A pair of ornate doors are slammed shut. Bam! A demon bursts into the office, urgently shouting to the Demon King that something terrible is happening with the human. Raven's eye widens in alarm upon hearing the news. Back at the training ground, her opponent decides to go easy on her since she's the Demon King's guest. Clang. The demon is stunned as she easily blocks his sword strike. Puffin and the other watching demons are left speechless by the unexpected display of skill. Lying on the ground, the defeated demon soldier can't believe she took him out in an instant. From the crowd, another demon expresses his shock, asking what in the world that human is. She realizes her body is moving instinctively, effortlessly seeing and dodging every one of her opponent's moves. Looking down at her hand, she begins to suspect a profound truth about herself. A memory surfaces. She recalls that in the game Eiglet, humans had no magic, so she never realized her own potential. Whoosh! A new power seems to flow through her as she stands with her sword. Puffin, flanked by her attendants, marches up and yells to get the silver-haired girl's attention. An angry Puffin gets in her face, demanding to know why she isn't recognized, while the girl nervously apologizes. Puffin points her sword at the girl and challenges her to a fight, stating that a human getting cozy with the Demon King is unacceptable. With a sinister smile, Puffin reveals a glowing dagger and vows to kill the magicless human in an instant. The silver-haired girl agrees to the duel, thinking that Puffin might be strong if she's the Demon King's lover. Puffin poses confidently with her sword, ready to begin their battle. The girl holds her own sword, feeling she can win but worrying about the trouble she'd be in if she hurt the Demon King's girlfriend. With a powerful cry, Puffin leaps into the air and launches her attack. The silver-haired girl calmly raises her sword in a defensive stance, ready to meet the charge. With a surprising show of skill, Eiglet expertly disarms a horned demon girl during a sword fight. The disarmed sword clatters to the ground as a crowd of demons looks on in surprise. Stunned and disoriented, the pigtail-wearing demon girl wonders what just happened. Eiglet smiles gently, asking if her opponent is hurt and reassuring her that she avoided hitting her hand. The demon girl erupts in fury, accusing Eiglet of using magic and trickery to win the duel. Other demons in the crowd murmur among themselves, speculating that Eiglet must have powerful magic. The commotion is interrupted as Raven arrives, demanding to know what is going on. The demon girl's anger instantly vanishes, replaced by starstruck excitement as she cries out to the Demon King. She rushes to Raven's side, eager to complain about how the cowardly human defeated her. Raven confronts a shocked Eiglet, revealing he heard a report that she was trying to wipe out his army, which she hastily denies. Before she can explain further, Raven swiftly sweeps her up into his arms, leaving her speechless. As he carries her away, Eiglet protests while Raven tells her to be quiet. Nearby, Owl simply sighs at the scene. The pigtail demon girl watches them leave, blushing and utterly bewildered by the human's behavior. Owl, ever the professional, adjusts his glasses and asks for a full report on the incident. Raven walks off with a protesting Eiglet in his arms. He gently sets her down, and she looks up at him, a little nervous. Confused, Eiglet asks if the girl from before, Puffin, is his girlfriend. Raven dismisses the idea, telling a blushing Eiglet that Puffin is merely a subordinate. Annoyed, he adjusts his collar and mutters that he's never even touched a maid. Eiglet notices his expression and asks if he's sleepy, and he admits he was woken up by the commotion. She lets out a soft gasp of surprise. Raven leans over her with a gentle, blushing gaze and softly speaks her name. He pulls her into a warm embrace from behind. Her eyes flutter open, face flushed in the quiet, intimate moment. They lie together peacefully, Raven holding her close in his arms. Cuddled against a sleeping Raven, Eiglet reminds herself not to get too attached, despite the comfortable moment. The scene transitions to a beautiful sunny day at the Grand Castle. Now dressed in a purple gown, Eiglet sits alone, bored and thinking she has nothing to do. She glances over at Raven, who is busy at his desk, assuming he doesn't have time for her. Without looking up from his work, he simply tells her to do as she likes. Walking through the castle, Eiglet overhears demons whispering about the human who beat someone up, and she worries she won't be welcome at training anymore. Suddenly, a child's cry of, "Daddy!" cuts through the air. She turns to see a man losing control of a cart stacked high with crates, right next to a small demon boy. In a flash, Eiglet lunges forward, shielding the boy with her own body as the crates come crashing down. The boy's father sighs in relief, thanking Eiglet as his son runs to him. Holding his son, the grateful father thanks her again for her quick thinking. A flustered Eiglet insists it was nothing, claiming her body moved on its own. As she turns away, she grows anxious, thinking that if she keeps meddling, it will happen again. A dark, painful memory surfaces of a woman falling after being asked, "You like me, don't you?" Eiglet clutches her head, realizing her past kindness was misinterpreted as love, leading to a tragic outcome when she denied it. Pushing the memory aside, she checks on the little boy, who says he's fine but worries his dad hurt his hand. The boy then proudly announces that his daddy is the castle's cook. Noticing the man's injury, Eiglet considers asking Owl for help, but resolves to handle it herself. A blush creeps onto her face as she steals her resolve. Later, she's called to a room where Owl addresses her as Princess. Inside, Raven questions her recent, regular trips out of her room, suspicious that they aren't just walks. Eiglet explains she has been helping in the dining hall with Owl's permission since one of the cooks was injured. Owl thoughtfully considers her explanation before deeming it acceptable. Thump! Having made up his mind, Raven announces he is leaving and pushes back from his desk. He strides with purpose down a long, ornate castle hallway. The scene shifts to the castle's grand dining hall, where demons are enjoying their meal. Meanwhile, Eiglet is all smiles as she happily helps out in the bustling kitchen. From behind a pillar, Raven eavesdrops as demons discuss how the human is actually very kind for helping an injured cook. His intimidating presence suddenly revealed, Raven startles the gossiping demons, who cry out to the Demon King in shock. He narrows his eyes, inwardly questioning their words. That human is kind? The terrified demons frantically insist that she is incredibly kind and never ignores anyone in trouble. Back at his desk, Raven muses over the idea of her being kind, concluding it's only to be expected from someone he brought to the castle. Later, Raven calls out to the princess as she sips her tea, and she looks up to answer. He declares that he's in trouble because he can't get any work done, but when she offers to get Owl, he waves it off. Smiling brightly, Eiglet decides to go help in the dining hall instead. A slight blush appears on Raven's face as he thinks to himself that she's never treated him so kindly. In the kitchen, Eiglet hums to herself while methodically slicing a carrot. She puzzles over the Demon King's strange behavior these past few days. From dropping things to whining about getting up. Peeking out of the kitchen, she wonders who has arrived this time. She finds Raven standing right before her, staring down with a serious expression. He leans in close, catching her completely off guard by asking why she is always so cold to him. Towering over the stunned girl, he repeats his question, demanding to know why she treats him with such coldness. Eiglet is left utterly shocked and flustered by his unexpected accusation. She quickly grabs his arm and pulls him aside, telling him to come with her for a moment. Confronting him, Eiglet asks what he meant, and he simply repeats that she always treats him coldly. Her only response is a completely baffled, "Huh? Huh?" He explains that she rushes to help others in trouble but never does anything for him when he needs it. With a hurt look, he presses her for an answer, asking why she treats him differently. Eiglet quietly realizes he's simply complaining that she's kinder to the other demons than to him. Blushing furiously, she thinks to herself that he always gets flustered during their intimate moments anyway. Raven stands silent with his arms crossed, an unreadable expression on his face. A loud cry of "Wah!" suddenly pierces the air, interrupting their tense conversation. They turn to see a small demon girl in a green dress sobbing in the middle of the hallway. Without hesitation, Eiglet rushes toward the crying child, with Raven following just behind. Eiglet kneels to comfort the girl, who explains through her tears that her doll fell from an upper room to outside the castle. Thinking outside, Eiglet realizes with a jolt that she's never actually been outside the castle walls before. She turns to Raven and asks for permission to take the girl outside to find her doll. After a brief pause, Raven gives his consent with a single word, "Fine." The scene changes to the formidable exterior of the castle, with guards posted at the main entrance. The two demon guards stand stoically at their posts. The guards snap to attention and salute as Lord Demon King emerges, followed closely by Eiglet and the little girl. The guards anxiously ask if there is a security issue, but Raven calmly tells them their work is appreciated. Eiglet gently asks the little girl where the doll fell, and the child points them in the right direction. The girl indicates a massive, dense patch of glowing purple thorns, saying, "It fell in there." Turning to a guard, Raven explains that the girl apparently dropped her doll. They spot a teddy bear tangled deep within the thorns, and Eiglet confidently states she can reach it. "Ah, no, please don't." The guards immediately shout in alarm, stopping her. They explain the crystal thorns are a dangerous defense, as they are extremely sharp and shatter into even deadlier shards, prompting Eiglet to ask if there is any safe way to get the doll. A frantic owl rushes onto the scene, scolding his lord for going outside without informing anyone first. Owl then asks the guards what they are doing, and one explains that a doll is stuck in the crystal thorns. Assessing the situation, Owl notes how difficult it will be to retrieve the toy and orders a guard to find a tool to hook it out. As Owl scolds the guards for abandoning their posts, a gloved hand reaches for a tangled mass of glowing thorns. Raven ignores the danger and plunges his arm into the thorny magic. Bam! Owl, Puffin, and the silver-haired girl watch in horror as Owl shouts for his lord. Ignoring his bleeding arm, Raven calmly pulls a small teddy bear from the thorns. Owl urges him to remove the thorns, explaining that the teddy bear belongs to Puffin. The silver-haired girl looks on, stunned into silence by his reckless act. Rushing to his side, she cries out in alarm, pointing to his bleeding arm. Raven turns to look at her, his expression unreadable. Blushing with concern, she stares at him, her worry plain on her face. Nearby demon guards whisper in disbelief that the Demon King would allow himself to be injured like that. Owl remains silent, his expression stern as he watches the two of them. Later, as she tends to his arm, the shirtless Demon King tells her, "There's no need." She looks up, confused by his words. Examining his arm more closely, she is shocked to find there's no wound at all. He explains that his immense magic power causes any injury to heal instantly. Still blushing, she insists that he must have still felt pain and shouldn't have gotten hurt. His expression softens as he looks away, a flicker of his true feelings showing. He reveals his magic is so vast that his body can barely contain it. A painful memory surfaces of his younger self, writhing in bed from the agony of his own power. He confesses that he has been tormented by constant, lonely pain his entire life, which no one could understand. Looking at her tenderly, he says everything changed when she appeared. He speaks her name for the first time, Eiglet. He admits using her as a body pillow was just to absorb his magic, but his feelings have changed. Eiglet is stunned, asking if she's actually helpful to him. He smiles, confessing he used to wish he could vanish, but now couldn't bear to lose her. She gently touches his cheek, asking if being close to her like this still hurts. Blushing, he admits it's strange, but he no longer feels the pain he had grown used to. Leaning in close, he confesses that the thought of losing her is what truly scares him now. He pulls her into a tight embrace, pleading with her to stay closer to him. Holding her gently, he whispers for her to stay by his side. In an intimate moment, he repeats his heartfelt request for her to stay close. Sometime later, Eiglet sits quietly, knitting a long brown scarf. Her thoughts drift to the Demon King. She reflects on his overwhelming power and her ability to absorb it, realizing there's more to their connection than just being his pillow. The Demon King appears, handing back the ball of yarn she dropped, telling her it fell. She accepts it with a shy thank you, a blush on her cheeks. They sit together on the couch, she knitting while he rests beside her with his eyes closed. He gently leans his head against her shoulder, seeking comfort. Eiglet reflects on how considerate he's been, even getting her a knitting set to help her pass the time. Sitting with Owl, Eiglet feels an awkward tension in the air. She nervously asks if the commander he mentioned is Puffin, but Owl curtly denies it. Eiglet sits alone, sadly wishing that humans and demons could coexist peacefully. She learns a terrible secret. The previous Demon King was killed by humans. A bloody flashback reveals how humans betrayed the former king during peace talks and massacred the demons in the castle. Is that true? Eiglet asks in horrified disbelief. The scene shifts to a beautiful human castle surrounded by a lush forest. Owl reveals the kingdom responsible for the slaughter was the Terex Kingdom, Eiglet's own birthplace. He explains the current Demon King's mother escaped the massacre while pregnant and died giving birth to him. Born from tragedy, the Demon King inherited both the curse and the hope of his people, becoming the strongest in history. Back in his office, the Demon King explains to Owl that while Eiglet has no magic, her ability to absorb his power eases his pain. Owl reflects that, while hair color indicates magic, a human with zero magic has never been known to exist. He asks Eiglet if her hair color is real, and she nervously stammers in response. In a flashback, he recalls her skilled swordsmanship, wondering where a princess could have learned to fight so well. The Demon King, arms crossed, agrees that he also wants to know the answer to that question. Flustered, Eiglet wonders what to say, thinking they would never believe her if she admitted her skills came from a game. She reflects on her dual identity as Yukiko and Eiglet, her two sets of memories coexisting without conflict, even the memory of being sacrificed. With a hand over her heart, she reveals that she has died once before and expects to die again soon. A bloody memory shows her bound and sacrificed for a forgotten sin, her final act being to summon a hero, making her wonder if she's in a time loop. She realizes the game character Colette always dies before the story begins, and now wonders if, in this life, she can use her sword to change her fate. The Demon King asks if the sword is the only thing she can use, and she admits that while she hasn't tried anything else, she should be able to fight. When Owl asks about her magic, she explains she has none, despite understanding the theory behind it. Owl condescendingly remarks that it's because she lacks magic. The Demon King looks pointedly at Owl, asking his trusted aide if he understands the situation now. Owl flinches, taken aback by his lord's reprimand. As Owl silently walks away, Eiglet watches from the couch while the Demon King remains at his desk. Eiglet looks up with concern, a wordless sound of tapping feet indicating she's about to follow him. She stands and calls out, asking Sir Owl to wait a moment. He tells her to just call him Owl, but she becomes flustered, sighing that his instruction wasn't what she meant. Bowing respectfully, Eiglet acknowledges that her words may not mean much to him. She looks up earnestly, promising she won't hurt them, and pleading with him to believe her. A demon guard bursts in, shouting for Sir Owl with urgent news of a child kidnapped by humans. With a sharp sound, Owl turns and declares that he will go instead. A hiring notice is displayed, featuring various roles listed above an illustration of a dark-haired man and a red-eyed girl. Eiglet stands alone in a vast hall, horrified by the thought of a demon child being captured by humans. Standing beside a concerned Eiglet, Owl adjusts his glasses and reiterates his decision to go. The story's title is presented in elegant, stylized Japanese characters. Eiglet clasps her hands worriedly, asking what has happened. A bloody flashback shows a demon mother holding her child as text explains that humans launched a surprise attack, slaughtering demons without mercy. The Demon King is depicted as a menacing figure, despised by all and aiming to bring an end to the world itself. In a tender memory, the Demon King recalls wishing he could just disappear, catching Eiglet by surprise. Eiglet stands with a look of deep concern, her hand placed over her heart. The Demon King smirks, reflecting on how he has seen countless routes where Eiglet dies as a sacrifice but has now changed her fate completely. Puffin appears suddenly, yelling, "Hey, human!" at a startled Eiglet. Eiglet is reduced to a chibi form in her surprise, crying out Puffin's name as the angry little demon appears before her. Puffin clears her throat and asks if Lord Owl has left, to which Eiglet timidly confirms. Puffin collapses, dramatically, distraught that Owl has gone to face the human soldiers all by himself. She laments that while Owl is powerful with magic, he is not skilled with a sword, and decides she must report this to the Demon King. She suddenly remembers Eiglet is there and points at her with a sharp gasp. Puffin gets in Eiglet's face, asking if her sword skills are superior and theorizing that humans might hesitate to fight another human. Smirking slyly, Puffin recalls Owl's suspicion that Eiglet is a spy and challenges her to reveal her true self so she can be eliminated. Eiglet firmly states that, if she can help, she will go, and asks Puffin to lead the way. In a lavish room, a nobleman sips wine, remarking on his good luck. A small, frightened demon child is trapped in a birdcage, as the nobleman thinks of using him as bait to capture more demons. The nobleman sits at a table across from another man, with the caged demon child placed beside them. Taking another sip of wine, the nobleman smiles cruelly, boasting that they can sell the captured demons at a high price. His wine glass suddenly shatters in his hand, a look of shock on his face. Owl leaps through the broken window, grabbing the cage containing the demon child. He lands gracefully on the street below, now surrounded by startled human guards. Holding the child's cage protectively, Owl realizes with alarm that a magic seal has been activated. Surrounded by hostile guards, Owl realizes he's completely outnumbered. He turns in surprise, letting out a confused, "Huh." Suddenly, Eiglet appears and lands directly in his arms. "Princess?" Owl shouts in shock, wondering if she's been hiding magical abilities this entire time. Eiglet explains that Puffin brought her, saying he needed help. Realizing who's responsible, Owl grits his teeth and calls Puffin a troublemaker. Standing with Eiglet and the freed demon child, Owl senses no magic from her and contemplates if this is the perfect chance to eliminate her. Eiglet looks up at him with concern, asking if he's in danger. As they face the phalanx of guards, Owl grimly confirms that's one way to put it. She asks why he isn't using magic, and he explains a seal is blocking him, making escape with the child nearly impossible. The guard's commander spots them, ordering his men to restrain the demons using magic but not to kill them. A soldier conjures a small fireball in his hand. The fireball hurtles toward them, growing in size and intensity. Thump. Owl steps forward, raising a hand to intercept the fiery blast. Adjusting his glasses, Owl coolly states that while their magic is the same, he can use it in any situation. He tells Eiglet to protect the child while he begins reversing the guard's magic. Eiglet watches amazed as she realizes he can turn their enemy's power against them. Straining against the force, Owl realizes there are too many opponents and their combined magic is draining his energy. The guards begin channeling their power together, creating a massive combined fireball. Owl realizes they're preparing a powerful spell and knows he won't be able to absorb it all. Resigned, he thinks he should have just escaped with them, but is glad he managed to protect them after all. But just as the spell is about to hit, Eiglet steps in front of him, hands outstretched. She gasps, amazed at the sheer amount of power she's absorbing from the incoming spell. The guard's commander yells, "Attack!" as they unleash their magic. From a high window, the full force of the magical assault is seen descending upon them. Eiglet's hands glow as she gathers the fiery energy. She stands as a protective shield, effortlessly containing the immense magical blast. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the Demon King sits at his desk, writing. He pauses, looking up with a thoughtful expression, wondering why Eiglet hasn't returned yet. He recalls seeing her follow Owl and questions her motives for doing so. He reflects on his long history with Owl, who has been his overprotective right hand since childhood, but has never defied him. Though Owl was wary of Eiglet, the Demon King trusts he wouldn't harm someone he cares about. He remembers her gentle concern, asking if his pain was gone. A faint blush appears on his face as he wonders where she is and what she could possibly be doing. Back on the battlefield, Eiglet stands ready before Owl and the demon child. Owl frantically explains she wasn't supposed to absorb all the magic, but use it as fuel, while a panicked Eiglet replies that it's too late. He quickly instructs her to hold the energy, aim it, and throw it back at them. Warning her that another attack is coming, Owl urges her to focus, and she affirms she understands. With instructions to absorb, hold, and return the magic, Eiglet concentrates her power. She holds her hands out, channeling the immense energy she's gathered. The nobleman who orchestrated the kidnapping watches from a shattered window in disbelief. A massive explosion erupts in the courtyard, stunning both the nobleman and Eiglet with its sheer power. Wah! Eiglet excitedly hugs a stone-faced owl, cheering, "I did it!" Owl is shocked, marveling that she mastered such a difficult technique in such a short time. As she smiles brightly at him, he grimly thinks how dangerous she would be if she ever became their enemy. Eiglet beams, thanking him and saying she's glad he doesn't have to handle everything alone anymore. Owl simply agrees while Eiglet, energized, declares her intention to practice her new ability. The defeated guards groan in despair, realizing they never stood a chance against such unexpected power. Owl dismisses them as mere mercenaries, then adds with cold resolve that the man responsible for this must die. A man in a purple jacket struggles to crawl from beneath a massive pile of rubble. Eiglet desperately grabs Owl's arm, pleading with him not to draw his sword. Trying to de-escalate the situation, she quietly points out that a small demon child is watching them. As the trapped man looks on in despair, Eiglet smiles, announcing she has a great idea. Her idea revealed, the kidnapper is now bound and hanging from a tree for a crowd to see. A sign on his chest confesses that he kidnapped a child and deserves his punishment. The scene shifts to an overhead view of the grand, sprawling castle. An enraged Raven confronts Owl and Eiglet, demanding to know why they left without his permission. Owl calmly explains that he didn't believe the situation was serious enough to bother the busy Demon King. Crackling with blue energy, Raven furiously demands that Owl repeat what he just said. Eiglet rushes forward and grabs the enraged Demon King, crying out his name. She pulls him into a sudden, tight hug, leaving him momentarily stunned as her hair flies around them. Owl watches in astonishment, realizing Eiglet has absorbed all of His Majesty's rampant magic. His rage quelled, Raven gently carries the now unconscious Eiglet down the hall. Holding her close, Raven orders his subordinates to clear the area and not let anyone near his bedroom. In a flashback to the confrontation, Owl again states he didn't want to bother the king, triggering Raven's explosive rage. As his magic surges, Eiglet realizes the overwhelming power is his and calls out his name in alarm. She reaches out desperately, calling for Raven once more amidst the blinding light. She successfully embraces him, and the chaotic blue energy begins to sparkle and calm around them. Blushing deeply, Eiglet buries her face in his shoulder, holding on tightly. Raven stares down in utter shock, caught completely off guard by her hug. Carrying her away, he again orders everyone to stay away from him and to clear the area. He gently lays the sleeping Eiglet on a large bed, looking down at her. Raven's jealousy flares as he remembers Owl leaving with Eiglet, causing his magic to surge uncontrollably. He clutches his head, trying to get his overwhelming emotions and power under control. Waking up, Eiglet reaches toward him with concern, gently asking if he's in pain. Her hand on his cheek makes him blush, his pained expression softening into surprise. Looking away shyly, Raven quietly admits that it hurts a little. They gaze at each other, blushing as he holds her hand to his cheek. As she moves to hug him, Eiglet senses that his magic is still overflowing. She embraces him tightly, absorbing the volatile energy swirling around him. She reflects on her plan, believing she could safely absorb his power with the right adjustment. She recalls that the Demon King's magic is so immense in both quantity and quality that it causes physical pain. The sheer power makes her blush, thinking how thick, heavy, and overwhelming it feels. Raven gazes down at her with a soft, affectionate smile, his cheek still dusted with a blush. Later, Raven looks down with a serious yet gentle expression, his shirt now unbuttoned. He leans over her tenderly, his hand cradling her head as he softly calls her name. Flustered by his touch, she shyly confirms that Eiglet is indeed her name. Lying beneath him, she looks up and calls his name back to him. He leans in closer, repeating her name with a soft, loving gaze. With a backdrop of sparkling magic, he gently kisses her. The kiss deepens as she wraps her arm around his neck. A flashback reveals a thought. This is the first time seeing the normally unreadable Demon King so furious. His magic continues to leak out, surrounding him in a soft blue aura as he looks down, flustered. He gives in, burying his face in her shoulder as she comforts him. Standing outside the closed bedroom doors, Owl worries that he can't let the king sleep forever. Inside, a shirtless Raven rests peacefully with his head in Eiglet's lap as she strokes his hair. Peeking inside, Owl is left speechless and blushing at the intimate scene. In the castle corridors, a group of demons gossip about a rumor that Lord Owl has acknowledged a human, leaving them in shock. Peeking from behind a pillar, a distraught demon girl with red-tipped pigtails wonders how this could have happened. Elsewhere, Eiglet knits peacefully, greeting an unseen audience. The scene reveals she's knitting while the Demon King, Raven, rests his head on her lap, absorbed in his paperwork. Looking flustered, Eiglet thinks to herself not to ask how she ended up in this situation. Raven glances up from his work, his gaze meeting hers from his comfortable position on her lap. He closes his eyes, sighing contentedly as he relaxes against her. As her hands continue to knit, Eiglet notices how soft his hair is and how large his horns are. She reflects that his behavior has changed since she stopped his magical outburst, though he was already acting strange before, remembering when he embraced her. She recalls Raven repeatedly asking her to stay with him and worries that she might have praised his music too much. With an awkward smile, she tells the resting Raven that the children will be here soon and that he should wake up. Just then, two young demon children burst into the room, excitedly asking Eiglet to teach them knitting again. Eiglet happily sits with the children on the floor, patiently teaching them how to knit. From his vantage point, Raven watches them, thinking it's good that she's staying inside more, but that her attitude remains unchanged. Eiglet beams with genuine happiness as she spends time with the enthusiastic demon children. Raven recalls the moment she embraced him and called him by his name, Raven, noting she hasn't said it since. Suddenly sensing a change in his mood, Eiglet looks up with concern, wondering what's wrong as the children cling to her. A dark, menacing aura surrounds Raven as he glares from his desk, startling the others. Eiglet recognizes his foul mood, thinking to herself that it's happening again and has been occurring frequently. As the children look on worriedly, she suddenly wonders if the Demon King simply doesn't like kids. To her surprise, the little demon girl gets up and bravely runs toward the sulking Demon King at his desk. The girl stands before Raven's large desk and presents something to him. Blushing, the little girl apologetically offers him 2 small flowers, begging the Demon King not to hate them. She scurries back to Eiglet's side, hiding her flushed face as Eiglet and the little boy watch Raven's reaction. Raven gently holds the small, colorful flowers against one of his horns and declares them beautiful. He flashes a charming, fanged smile and adds that the flowers really suit him. Kneeling before the small child, Raven tells her the flowers aren't enough and playfully asks her to make more for him. Eiglet and the little boy watch in stunned silence at this surprising turn of events. From the children's perspective, the mighty Demon King looks away with a deep, embarrassed blush on his face. Peeking over his desk, the blushing Raven wonders what to do as Eiglet finds his sudden childishness incredibly cute. The little demon boy eagerly asks Eiglet how to make the flowers, and she begins to show him. Click! Owl enters the room, pushing a tea cart, announcing that it's tea time. Owl instructs the children to return to their rooms and not to disturb the Demon King, much to their disappointment. Waving goodbye, the children promise to return for another lesson tomorrow as Eiglet reflects on the peaceful moment. Thump. Eiglet is startled as Raven suddenly sits down beside her on the floor. He eyes her knitting project curiously and asks what she's been working on for so long. She explains that she noticed his horns get caught on his sheets, so she knitted covers to protect them. Raven leans in close, blushing intensely as he excitedly asks if the gift is for him, and she shyly confirms it. He turns away, pondering with a deep blush on his face, while the blushing Eiglet watches him. Owl announces that the tea is ready, as tiny, adorable versions of Raven and Eiglet peek over the trolley in anticipation. Poofed! Owl does a spit take upon seeing the Demon King now wearing the knitted horn covers, which have been decorated with colorful flowers, while Eiglet beams proudly. In a quiet forest, the demon girl with red-tipped pigtails sits on a rock, seemingly making a decision. A sly look crosses her face as she plots that if she can't hurt Eiglet directly, she'll find another way. She cackles, deciding to make it look like the human died in an accident. A sack of coins is presented as payment, described as a salary for the month. Back in his study, Raven is interrupted by Eiglet, who excitedly asks if she can go shopping at the local item shop. Raven begins to offer to buy anything she wants himself, seeing no need for her to go. With a radiant and determined expression, Eiglet insists that she wants to go and shop by herself. Sighing, Raven relents and gives her permission to go, but sternly warns her not to go out alone. In the bustling Demon King Castle shop area, a thriving marketplace serves both soldiers and regular demons. Eiglet's face beams with excitement as she takes in the sights of an actual item shop. Looking at jewelry, she reflects that she'd never visited before because she had no money to spend. Eager to browse, she happily considers what to buy, torn between weapons, armor, and magic items. As she walks, she thinks she has no chance to practice magic here, unaware that the demon girl with red-tipped pigtails is watching her. Peeking from behind a column, the demon girl wonders what the human is doing here instead of with the Demon King. To the spying girl's shock, Eiglet effortlessly swings a massive greatsword, making her question if Eiglet is truly human. Thump, convinced she must be eliminated, the determined demon girl runs off to enact her plan. Oblivious Eiglet politely asks the shopkeeper if she can hold a small sword on display. Oof! The demon girl suddenly shoves Eiglet from behind, then aggressively demands that she look at her. Eiglet turns around, looking confused by the sudden confrontation. On display is a rare, cursed dagger imbued with the power to drain magic from humans and demons. Eiglet's eyes sparkle with desire as she recognizes the dagger as a key material for weapon synthesis, declaring she must have it. Startled by her sudden interest, the demon girl urges her to wait. Holding the dagger with a radiant smile, Eiglet excitedly asks the shopkeeper for the price as the demon girl watches, annoyed. Outraged by Eiglet's audacity, the demon girl silently fumes, wondering who she thinks she is. As Eiglet happily thanks the shopkeeper, the demon girl glares, internally vowing to absolutely kill her. Clutching her new dagger, Eiglet muses that the curse is harmless to her, now needing only to find materials to synthesize it. She decides she'll need to go to the forest for materials, possibly from a dragonian couple, when a shout interrupts her thoughts. Turning, she sees the angry demon girl and asks, "Puffin?" A light bulb flashes as Eiglet realizes Puffin is a strong demon and excitedly asks her to go to the forest with her. Puffin sees this as the perfect opportunity, agreeing with a sinister smile as she thinks Eiglet is walking right into her trap. While Eiglet celebrates with a cheerful "Yay!" Puffin darkly promises that today will be the human's last day. A rope unfurls through the air, ready for a rescue. Eiglet holds the rope, desperately calling for Puffin to hold on as she tries to pull her from a deep pit. Covered in mud at the bottom of the pit, Puffin clings to the rope, bewildered as to why her own trap backfired on her. After the rescue, Eiglet asks if Puffin is all right, mentioning she was surprised when Puffin suddenly jumped in. Puffin forces a smile and lies, claiming she simply slipped because she wasn't careful. In a chibi flashback, it's revealed that Puffin tried to push Eiglet, who sidestepped, causing Puffin to fall instead as she cries in frustration. Eiglet expresses relief that the pit wasn't bottomless, while Puffin fumes, realizing her trap failed completely. Undeterred, Puffin grits her teeth and silently declares it's time for her next trap. As they walk, Eiglet gracefully avoids grasping vines that immediately ensnare the clumsy Puffin behind her. Puffin struggles, yelling for Eiglet to wait and wondering how she avoids everything, before a sudden grab stops her. Giant carnivorous plants snatch Puffin into the air, and a horrified Eiglet cries out her name. Grrr! Eiglet is now surrounded by menacing wolf-type magical beasts, as Puffin watches from a tree, certain this trap will work. To Puffin's disbelief, Eiglet walks past the now docile wolves, leaving Puffin to wonder at her luck while vowing more traps are ahead. Eiglet remarks that Puffin seems quite unlucky today, causing the flustered demon girl to insist she's fine. Gently wiping the mud from Puffin's face, Eiglet tells her not to push herself and to rest for a moment. Touched but resolute, Puffin suddenly remembers her goal and asks Eiglet if she was looking for apples. A glint of realization appears in Eiglet's eye as she connects the apples to the castle shop. With sudden purpose, Eiglet pulls the startled Puffin close to her side. Thump! A massive red dragon emerges before them, leaving Puffin utterly terrified and speechless. Eiglet smiles brightly beside the shocked Puffin, announcing that she's found it. Puffin stares in disbelief, wondering if the terrifying dragon is what Eiglet meant by apples. Eiglet happily clarifies that since this is a red dragon's nest, the legendary dragon apple must be close by. A cute chibi illustration shows Eiglet happily holding a heart-shaped apple. An item description identifies the dragon apple as a rare demonic fruit said to grow from a red dragon's breath. The text explains that the apple is incredibly difficult to harvest due to its proximity to dragon nests and quickly loses freshness. A stylized title card for the series is displayed. The mighty red dragon lets out a deafening roar. As the dragon lunges, Puffin trembles in absolute terror. Watching Eiglet's calm demeanor, Puffin wonders why she would seek something so dangerous for a mere dragon apple. Puffin stares at Eiglet's slight smile, internally questioning who this girl really is. A narration explains that in this world, there are humans, demons, and magical beasts. Further text clarifies that some magical beasts bond with demons or become familiars. The text states that dragons are a terrifying exception, deemed invincible due to their magic and unmatched fierceness, causing even Puffin to freeze in fear. Facing the beast, a determined Eiglet smiles and declares that she can do it. She confidently runs forward to face the dragon. As Eiglet casually walks past a terrified Puffin, the dragon looks on with a quizzical expression. Approaching the massive beast, Eiglet dismisses it as a weird dragon, deciding she'll deal with it after she gets the apple. She recalls that the synthesis enchantment was imbued on her dagger at purchase, meaning she can use it the moment she harvests the material. Watching from a distance, a shocked Puffin wonders what on earth that girl is doing. Puffin wishes Eiglet would get crushed, but then realizes that if she dies, escaping alone will be even harder. Spotting the scaly red fruit in the branches above, Eiglet exclaims, "There it is!" The red dragon lets out a mighty roar right beside Eiglet, who remains completely unfazed. As the dragon breathes a massive fireball, Puffin shoves Eiglet to safety, shouting that it's dangerous. Puffin regrets her actions, thinking she's an idiot who should have run, but is interrupted by Eiglet thanking her. Holding the dagger to the dragon apple, Eiglet begins the synthesis process. Puffin looks on in dawning comprehension as she begins to understand Eiglet's plan. Realization strikes Puffin as she exclaims, "Weapon synthesis," and understands this was Eiglet's goal all along. With a swift motion, Eiglet plunges her newly transformed dagger into the side of the red dragon. The dragon collapses as an item description reveals the apple dagger, a super rare weapon crafted from an ancient dagger, a dragon apple, and dragon's blood. Eiglet proudly holds her new weapon, remarking that with an apple dagger, you can easily cheese a dragon, just like in the game. She recalls that since magical beasts like red dragons respawn, they were always great for grinding levels. Eiglet muses that her body moved better than expected, and the dragon seemed slower than she remembered. Looking at her new dagger, she feels the fight was too easy and wishes it had been more of a challenge. Suddenly, Eiglet and a horrified Puffin are surrounded by 3 more red dragons that have just appeared. While Puffin stares in terror, Eiglet's eyes sparkle with excitement. Utterly bewildered by her reaction, Puffin asks Eiglet why she is smiling. Eiglet thinks this is a perfect chance to train and decides that if things get bad, she'll just escape using Puffin's teleportation magic. Filled with excitement, Eiglet cheers. "Let's do our best, Puffin," as the demon girl looks on in utter despair. The scene shifts to a grand room where a black-haired demon man asks if they weren't supposed to be out shopping. Eiglet explains she finished shopping, but what she truly wanted was in the forest, so she brought Puffin along with her. The man sternly calls out Puffin's name, causing the demon girl to flinch in fear. Eiglet wonders what's keeping Puffin so busy, noting that she's usually stuck to the Demon King like glue. Suddenly, the Demon King pulls Eiglet into a tight, surprising hug. Caught completely off guard, Eiglet can only manage a confused, "Huh?" Held firmly in his arms, Eiglet blushes deeply from the unexpected intimacy. Leaning in close, the Demon King commands her to take off her clothes now. A cute chibi illustration shows Eiglet happily holding a large heart. With his face near her neck, the fanged Demon King whispers, "Wait, this is a bit?" A stylized title card for the series is displayed. As he holds her, the Demon King's expression grows serious as he states that he smells blood. Looking into her eyes, he realizes it's her blood and asks if she's injured. Eiglet smiles sweetly, dismissing her injury as just a little scrape and nothing to worry about. The Demon King looks away with a sigh, stating that he doesn't trust a word she says. Now, shirtless, he gently kisses her hand, murmuring that the injury is still there. Eiglet reflects that his expressions are sweet, but reminds herself that this is an at-home game where the Demon King is not a love interest and she is not the protagonist. In a steamy bath, a flustered Eiglet insists that her scrape doesn't hurt anymore. Embracing her from behind, the Demon King looks at her with sorrowful eyes and begs her not to go outside without telling him again. In the steamy bath, the Demon King holds Eiglet close, asking if she understands as she lets out a soft moan. As he kisses her neck, the Demon King insists that she make him a promise. Flustered, Eiglet agrees while thinking about his fingers moving beneath the water's surface. The Demon King smiles, satisfied that she has given her word. Submerged in the water, Eiglet has a moment of shocked realization, thinking that his feelings don't give him the right to touch her. Leaning back thoughtfully, the Demon King remains silent for a moment. He reveals he received a report from Owl about her learning magic, and Eiglet confirms Owl taught her how to reflect it. When he asks if she was hiding it, she explains she didn't think he'd want to know, and that Owl is quite forthcoming with her. He smiles gently, telling her that her ability to use magic makes no difference to him. With tears in her eyes, Eiglet asks if that's because it doesn't matter for a body pillow. The Demon King reassures her warmly, stating that no matter what, she's still just herself. In a chibi-style aside, the Demon King worries his power was too strong, while Eiglet wonders if that means she can't use hers. He explains that she instinctively absorbed the backlash of her own overwhelming power to protect the people of the castle from being vaporized. Blushing, he offers her all the magic she desires if she'll stay by his side, but she bluntly tells him she doesn't need it. Later in bed, Eiglet suddenly recalls the battle, remembering that she wiped out the red dragons. In a cute illustration, she explains how she synthesized the rare apple dagger and tested it, as the Demon King recognizes the weapon's name. Looking troubled, she asks him if she did something terrible. The Demon King smiles slyly, suggesting they go together to check on those poor things. Dressed for an outing, Eiglet confirms she is ready as the Demon King waits for her on the balcony. He surprises her by sweeping her up into his arms. A stylized title card for the series is shown. Cradled in his arms, Eiglet looks concerned, remembering his plan to visit the dragon's nest. The Demon King repeats his desire to go see how the poor things are doing. Confused by his words, Eiglet also notes that he even had Owl pack them a lunch for the trip. Holding her securely, the Demon King announces that they are about to land. They arrive in a dark forest, standing before the same tree where the dragon apple hangs. A sudden, horrified jolt hits Eiglet as she realizes this is the exact spot where she wiped out the dragons. Just then, 3 massive red dragons emerge from the woods before them. While Eiglet watches in terror, the Demon King calmly asks the beasts if their chief is present. The largest of the 3 red dragons stares down at the pair. Eiglet is stunned that the dragon can talk, while the Demon King asks if it seeks revenge for the princess. The dragon, however, only asks who she is. The Demon King clarifies that she is the princess of the Terrix Holy Kingdom, prompting the dragon to ask for her name. Blushing nervously, the girl introduces herself as Eiglet. The dragon thanks Eiglet, identifying her as the daughter of the Toki princess of the White Heron. Utterly confused, Eiglet questions the name Toki and asks why the dragon is thanking her. The Demon King explains that red dragons are high-class beasts, capable of speech, but are usually too proud to engage with others. A narration describes the red dragon life cycle. They burn upon death and are reborn from their own ashes, making them nearly immortal. The lead dragon explains that since no one had slain them in a long time, they had grown old. Eiglet's actions allowed the entire clan to be reborn. Eiglet has a flash of insight, realizing their age was the reason they were so slow in their previous fight. The Demon King smiles, asking if she understands now that what she did wasn't a sad thing at all. With a happy, blushing smile, Eiglet agrees. The dragon offers Eiglet 1 wish as thanks, and she eagerly asks him to spar with her for training. While the Demon King looks on in shock, the dragon agrees to her unusual request. With her apple dagger at the ready, Eiglet confidently faces the 3 reborn dragons. She charges into battle as the Demon King shouts her name in alarm. The dragon observes that it's never seen him so excited, which the flustered Demon King quickly denies. The Demon King cautions the dragon not to hurt her, but their conversation is cut short by Eiglet's sudden scream. The dragons sheepishly report to the Demon King that Eiglet has accidentally slipped off a nearby cliff. Without hesitation, the Demon King leaps off the cliff after her. As she plummets, a panicked Eiglet thinks she got too carried away and is about to say goodbye to her second life. Eiglet squeezes her eyes shut, a deep blush spreading across her face as her heart thumps loudly. With a flash of his wings, the Demon King catches her, looking down at her in surprise as he holds her securely in his arms. Blushing furiously, the Demon King yells that she really is such a handful. Holding her close, he gently chides her, asking her to please try to be more careful. Looking up at him with wide, teary eyes, a blushing Eiglet stammers out an apology. With a powerful beat of his wings, he lifts them into the air, leaving the 2 red dragons looking up from below. Standing together later, the Demon King holds a shyly smiling Eiglet close. The scene shifts to a woman in a long dress walking through a dark, foreboding corridor. The woman, the Toki princess, glares down at a massive red dragon imprisoned in a cell, vowing that she will never forgive it. In a cute chibi illustration, Eiglet sits happily, clutching a large, shiny red heart. Eiglet and the Demon King enjoy a peaceful picnic, with her pouring tea as he watches her with a soft expression. Taking a bite of a sandwich, Eiglet smiles blissfully at the delicious taste. The two sit side by side, happily munching on their sandwiches together. With a smudge of sauce on her cheek, Eiglet licks her finger and exclaims how amazing and delicious the sauce is. The Demon King gently reaches over and wipes the sauce from her cheek with his thumb. He then brings his thumb to his own lips to taste the sauce, his expression thoughtful, as Eiglet looks on in shock. Utterly flustered and blushing bright red, Eiglet is stunned by his action, thinking that while the sandwich is good, this is too much. The Demon King looks at her coolly, simply asking what's wrong. Overwhelmed with embarrassment, Eiglet can only continue to blush intensely. Still flustered, Eiglet wonders if this is normal now, thinking he touched her so suddenly. The Demon King smirks, teasingly asking if it isn't a bit late for her to be surprised by that. Eiglet concedes that he might be right, but thinks to herself that this has never happened before. She recalls seeing Puffin clinging to the Demon King while Owl looked on, remembering Puffin saying he claimed she wasn't his lover. Her thoughts troubled, Eiglet thinks they seemed close and asks the Demon King what kind of girl Puffin is. The Demon King looks over, surprised by her sudden question about Puffin. He calmly explains that Puffin is one of his royal subordinates, just like Owl. Eiglet processes this, realizing Puffin has feelings for the Demon King. Leaning in close, the Demon King asks her why she keeps calling him by his title. He looks at her intently, pressing the point by asking if she knows his name. Blushing deeply, Eiglet quietly speaks his name for the first time. Raven. Raven smiles warmly and confirms her name in return, making her blush even more. In a flashback, a younger man with brown hair speaks with a red dragon, which tells him to look after any humans he finds, despite the war. In the present, Eiglet realizes that any humans capable of capturing a dragon must have come from her own Terex kingdom. Puffin, a young woman with red-tipped hair, walks through a courtyard in a dark cloak, her expression grim. In a memory, she watches a white-haired woman face down a dragon, thinking that this dangerous human could be a threat to the Demon King. Puffin grits her teeth in anger at the memory of someone getting so close to her Demon King. Her past flashes by. Though told the Demon King was terrifying, she remembers him looking lonely when he saved her from human captors. As a young, scarred girl, she vowed to become useful to him. Puffin recalls her struggle to become the youngest Lance Corporal and create a Black Ops unit, all to be of service to him. Back in the present, Puffin feels isolated and frustrated, believing even Lord Owl has been swayed by Eiglet, leaving her in the dark. Elsewhere, people gossip about the mysterious white-haired girl, speculating she must be the human from the rumors. Nearby soldiers discuss the same girl, mentioning rumors that she tried to assassinate the queen and now has a bounty on her head. Puffin approaches the soldiers and demands they tell her everything about that story. The scene returns to the prison, where the Toki princess walks toward a cell with determined steps. Gazing at the moon, the Toki princess thinks Eiglet must be dead, but vows she won't find peace until she sees the body herself. A guard rushes in to inform the Toki princess that someone has requested an audience with the prince. The guard reports that the visitor claims to have seen the white-haired human the prince is searching for. A sinister smile spreads across the Toki princess's face as she realizes Eiglet is still alive. She dismisses the guard, saying she will handle it herself because the prince is busy. The Toki princess confronts a cloaked figure kneeling on the floor, asking if they are the one with information. Puffin recalls disguising herself to meet the queen, while in her current disguise as an old woman, she claims to be a traveling magician with uncertain information. The Toki princess holds her fan to her face, suspiciously asking the magician for a description. Lowering her fan, the Toki princess intensely demands to know everything, and the disguised Puffin agrees with a sinister smile. Puffin internally vows to do this for her king, as a memory of Raven and Eiglet's peaceful picnic flashes by. The story pauses for a brief chapter break. At the Demon Lord's castle, two guards discuss the quiet human army, with the red-haired one showing disdain for them. The blue-haired guard asks his red-haired companion if he knows of the white princess, Eiglet. The red-haired guard speculates that she could be a human princess, but the blue-haired guard scoffs at the idea. A flashback begins, with Eiglet looking on with concern and asking someone if they are okay. She's speaking to the red-haired guard whose arm is injured, and she insists on treating his wound despite his protests. The memory shows Eiglet gently tending to the red-haired guard's bandaged arm as they sit together. Back in the present, the blue-haired guard teases his friend, asking if that's when he fell for her, which the red-haired guard furiously denies. Elsewhere, Raven overhears a shocking rumor that a demon has fallen in love with the human princess Eiglet. Raven sits at his desk in silent, deep thought. The two guards are shown again, confirming they are the source of the rumor about someone being in love with Eiglet. Raven mulls over the words, wondering which demon could be in love with Eiglet, as he didn't catch the name. He continues to ponder, questioning who could have possibly gotten so close to her. His mind flashes through images of Eiglet's life in the castle, first showing her training with soldiers. Next, he pictures her cheerfully serving food to demon children in the cafeteria. He then remembers her happily knitting alongside demon children and their parents. Overwhelmed by how many people she's interacted with, a chibi Raven realizes there are far too many suspects. He thinks about Eiglet's trusting and meddlesome nature, calling her naive to the ways of the world. Raven finds her difficult to understand, feeling she vanishes the moment he looks away and is always wandering off. He recalls her vulnerability, remembering her thoughts of being a powerless, hidden princess unlike someone else with magic. The memory of her soft voice calling his name, Raven, echoes in his mind. Lost in thought, Raven blushes deeply, clearly flustered by the memory of her. A sudden click of a door handle catches his attention as Eiglet peeks in, noticing a noise. Finding a flustered chibi Raven at his desk, she asks him what's wrong. Eiglet touches his forehead, worried his red face means he has a fever, and wondering if demons can even get sick. She smiles warmly, offering to take care of him, saying it's the least she can do even if she's not his hug pillow. Raven gently takes her hand and kisses it, telling her she doesn't have to do anything for him. He looks at her sincerely, telling her that simply staying by his side is enough, causing her to blush. Hearing a noise at the door, Raven announces he's coming as Eiglet watches with concern. Raven turns to Owl with a serious expression, instructing Eiglet to stay behind him. Watching from afar, the two guards conclude that the Demon Lord himself must be the one in love with the human. Left alone, Eiglet sits anxiously, fearing the approaching human army will lead to a massive war. She looks on with a heavy heart, wishing she could stop the conflict, but knowing it isn't that simple. Turning around, Eiglet is surprised to find Puffin standing in the doorway with a stern look. Eiglet recognizes her and calls out her name, confused by her sudden appearance. Puffin forcefully grabs Eiglet's arm as Eiglet cries out her name in surprise. With a violent shove, Puffin pushes Eiglet towards a rift of red, crackling energy. Eiglet falls backward into a strange, glowing red void, utterly bewildered as Puffin watches from above. She lands hard on a stone floor with a painful thud, crying out in shock. Looking up from the ground, Eiglet is met with the sharp tip of a sword pointed directly at her. She finds herself completely surrounded by armored human soldiers with their swords drawn. A man in a blue and white military uniform steps forward, looking down at the captured Eiglet. The blue-haired man gazes down at her and declares, "Found you, Eiglet." The disguised Puffin appears beside the man, asking if this is the girl he was looking for, and he confirms she is. The man then turns his sword on the old woman, outing her as a demon. He orders his soldiers to restrain the demon with a magic seal and to take Eiglet away in the carriage. Trapped on the floor with swords crossed at her neck, Eiglet hears an ominous thought. Mother is waiting for us. Back in Raven's empty, ornate office, a voice calls out, questioning, "Eiglet?" Raven stands in the doorway, realizing the room is empty, and she is gone. He sighs in frustration, thinking about how she has wandered off once again. His attention is caught by a faint, crackling trail of red energy lingering in the air. Raven examines the residue, identifying it as space magic and questioning who could have used it, knowing Eiglet couldn't. As the red particles glow in his hand, a look of sudden realization crosses Raven's face as he identifies the culprit. Puffin. Elsewhere, a cell door slams shut, and Eiglet is thrown into a dark prison. The blue-haired man stares down at Eiglet through the bars, surprised she's still alive and human, while Puffin lies captured in another cell. Eiglet asks if he's going to kill her, but he coldly informs her she will wait there until her punishment is decided. Confused, she asks about special treatment, and he scoffs that he'd planned to kill her, but their mother pleaded for her life. A sudden thought strikes Eiglet as she wonders if the original course of events hasn't been fully altered yet. A flashback reveals the original plan, a ritual to sacrifice Eiglet to summon a saint, which Raven internally notes is entirely unnecessary. A blood-splattered screen details the grim original timeline: sacrifice the princess, summon the saint, and defeat the Demon King. The thought of the Demon King's death sends a wave of despair through Eiglet. Back in the present, the blue-haired man blushes and looks away, muttering that running away from her didn't help. Eiglet reflects that she brought this on herself, just as a sudden noise startles both her and the blue-haired man. With newfound resolve, Eiglet declares she's not the same as before and can escape, only to discover the magic ceiling bars nullify her power. She wonders why she was put in a magic ceiling cell, realizing someone must know she can use magic, and groans in frustration. In a nearby cell, Puffin lies unconscious on the stone floor. Seeing her, Eiglet calls out in concern, warning that magic is sealed here, but Puffin furiously tells her to shut up. Puffin tearfully asks why Eiglet is worried after she was the one who betrayed her. Eiglet looks on, utterly confused by the accusation of betrayal. Puffin explains that she heard the prince was searching for a white-haired woman and led him to Eiglet. Realizing her own capture was part of the deal, Puffin bitterly tells Eiglet it serves her right, though she admits her fear. Eiglet looks at Puffin with genuine curiosity and asks why she is considered a criminal. Standing with quiet determination, Eiglet states, "That's what people like to say about those who are different." Puffin insists she did nothing wrong, mentioning the queen knew her name, which confirms for Eiglet that the queen orchestrated the betrayal. Shaking the bars, Puffin demands Eiglet reveal her true self, but Eiglet calmly replies that there's nothing to show. Eiglet quietly repeats the cruel judgment she's always heard. Someone without color or magic must be cursed. Reacting to the word cursed, Eiglet explains that her white hair is her natural color, though she doesn't know why. She recounts her lonely past, explaining she grew up isolated in a tower, only dreaming of the outside world. Puffin furiously accuses her of lying and trying to deceive the Demon King. Stunned, Eiglet asks Puffin how she could possibly know about that. Puffin explains that the story is an old one that all demons know, and it is the very reason they hate humans. Blushing, Puffin thinks about the Demon King and his willingness to die. She declares with fierce loyalty that she won't let him die, even if it costs her own life. Her words resonate with Eiglet, who recalls how indifferent Raven seemed when they first met. The memory of Raven's gentle voice echoes in her mind, telling her that simply staying by his side is enough. Eiglet turns to a startled Puffin and confesses that, unlike Raven, she didn't want to die. Bathed in moonlight, Eiglet stands in her cell with a powerful new resolve. She formally introduces herself with her full name and title, Eiglet Archaeopteryx, Princess of the Kingdom of Teryx. As she speaks, Eiglet makes a silent vow to protect the Demon King, Raven, vowing that she will never let anyone kill him. Puffin stares in shock, trying to process the name of the forgotten kingdom. The realization hits her as she thinks in disbelief. "Princess?" A close-up shows Eiglet's face, her expression now filled with unshakable determination. The title page for Chapter 23 is displayed. Puffin rattles her cell bars, yelling at Eiglet to stop lying and insisting a princess shouldn't be there. She continues her denial, questioning how a princess could possibly have white hair. Eiglet meets her frantic gaze with a calm, unwavering expression. Eiglet reflects on her identity, quietly thinking her own name. A flashback reveals she was born Princess Eiglet Archaeopteryx, but without any magic. Her magicless birth would have threatened the royal family, but then something changed. Eiglet remembers that despite her circumstances, one person was always there for her. A memory surfaces of a young, blue-haired boy, her brother, inviting her to play since no one was around. The memory brings a flush to her younger self's face as she beams with pure joy. She recalls how her brother would sneak her out to play after discovering her. Their happy moments were cut short when her stepmother found them, demanding to know what they were doing. Puffin watches from her cell, sadly recalling that after that day, Eiglet's brother never came back. Eiglet muses that since her dreams relapsed, everyone has been kind, but it was all orchestrated by one person. A close-up reveals the faint, cruel smile of the person responsible. A woman in a regal red and purple dress appears outside the cell, announcing her arrival. Eiglet looks up, stunned into silence as she recognizes her visitor. Puffin is equally shocked, wondering why the woman is there. The woman, Eiglet's stepmother, says she's been looking for her and asks if she has finally sided with the devils. With a condescending smirk, she asks Eiglet what the former queen taught her. Eiglet smiles faintly and cuts to the heart of the matter, asking if her stepmother truly wants her to die. She directly accuses her stepmother of framing her for an assassination attempt on the queen. Realizing it's true, Eiglet notes her brother isn't one to insult people without reason, as her stepmother coolly adds he'll soon be king. The news confuses Eiglet, who remembers that in the game, he was supposed to remain a prince. The stepmother dismisses her confusion, revealing that tomorrow, Eiglet will be publicly executed. As Eiglet gasps, her stepmother cruelly adds that her death will conveniently help defeat the Demon King. Feigning sorrow, the stepmother bids Eiglet a final goodbye, reminding her that tomorrow is her last day. She then drops the act entirely, erupting into a fit of maniacal laughter while Eiglet stares in horror. Later that night, Puffin sleeps fitfully in her cell. Bam! She suddenly jolts awake, shaking the bars and screaming that she's bored. Eiglet sits in quiet contemplation, accepting that she can't escape now. She wonders if her only remaining hope lies in what will happen tomorrow. She realizes her execution won't be a quiet affair, but a public judgment before the nobles. Eiglet considers a desperate plan to steal a soldier's sword, but questions what she would do next. She thinks of her brother, Heron, acknowledging that while strong, he is not invincible. Overwhelmed with despair, she wonders how she could possibly make them believe the truth. A sudden, grim realization dawns on her. If she dies, Raven will also die. Shaken, she grips the bars with newfound resolve, declaring she cannot let that happen. A black crow lands on her window before transforming into a cascade of dark feathers. As the feathers settle, Raven appears in her cell, much to her astonishment. He looks at her with deep concern, speaking her name with urgency. Standing before her, Raven softly tells her that he has finally found her. Eiglet looks up at him, her eyes wide with disbelief as she whispers his name. A flustered Raven begins to ask why she left, but he's cut off. Grab. Eiglet lunges forward and seizes his arm without a word. She pulls herself into his arms, embracing him in a desperate hug. Face buried in his shoulder, Eiglet blushes, overcome with emotion. She lets out a soft sigh of relief, still clinging to him tightly. As they embrace, Eiglet looks up at him, tearfully asking if it's really him. From the other cell, Puffin retorts that it's because Eiglet won't be here anymore. Holding her tight, Raven scolds her for not staying by his side like he commanded, as Puffin watches the reunion. Puffin quietly observes the Demon King holding Eiglet in a protective embrace. Pressed against him, Eiglet wonders if he's this worried simply because she's the body pillow that comforts him. A flustered Raven bites her hair, insisting that her being a body pillow isn't why he's worried. Holding her close, Raven clarifies that he wants her to be his wife, stunning Eiglet into silence. Leaning into his embrace, Eiglet asks if she can stay by his side, making him blush. Overcome with emotion, a blushing Raven shyly agrees to her heartfelt request. Eiglet insists she must resolve things herself, refusing Raven's offer to handle it for her. With a look of resolve, she declares that this is something she must do on her own. Raven reluctantly agrees to her plan, but warns that he will intervene if she's in any danger. She smiles gratefully and accepts his terms. He gently kisses her hand as she begins to thank him. Holding her hand, Raven vows not to let her go, clarifying it's not just for comfort, and she understands. From her cell, a blushing Puffin is left speechless by their intimate moment. The next day, the court is abuzz as nobles gasp in shock, announcing her arrival. Princess Eiglet is led into the hall alongside Puffin, both bound, as Eiglet maintains a calm expression. She stands before the throne, facing her family and the assembled court. Looking at the throne, she calmly addresses her father and brother. Her gaze then falls upon her stepmother, who peers coolly from behind a fan. A tense silence hangs between them, before the stepmother breaks it with a triumphant, cruel smile. The stepmother recoils dramatically, accusing Eiglet of trying to curse her, causing Heron to cry out in alarm. Heron angrily demands the priest reveal her crimes, and the priest begins reading the formal charges, ending with a death sentence. The priest adds that she used a forbidden spell to summon the Demon King, shocking the listening nobles. Heron testifies that while they defeated the Demon King, she managed to escape with him afterward. The priest proposes an alternative sentence, sacrificing her to summon a saint, and Eiglet realizes the true, twisted nature of their plan. She calls out their hypocrisy, asking if they will truly kill her on false charges and call it a noble sacrifice. Her direct accusation leaves her brother, Heron, momentarily stunned. The court begins to murmur, questioning the terms wrongly accused and sacrifice. Putting on a show, the stepmother bursts into tears, dramatically lamenting that the kind princess is gone. She pleads with the distressed emperor to use the flames to save Eiglet, and he weakly agrees. With the king's permission, she rises and commands the guards to bring the flames. A heavy thud echoes through the hall, startling both Eiglet and Puffin. The source of the sound is revealed, a massive, chained dragon being led into the throne room. The dragon lets out a furious, deafening roar. Unafraid, Eiglet smiles brightly at the beast and asks to borrow its power. She repeats her accusation, questioning if they'll truly sacrifice her based on a crime she didn't commit. The dragon, now a glowing red, stands before her as a voice orders them both to be imprisoned. The massive red dragon looms over the two girls, its gaze fixed upon them. Facing the dragon, she renounces her title, stating that she is no longer the princess of this nation. A single tear escapes her eye, betraying the sorrow behind her defiant words. The stepmother turns to the terrified emperor, pressing him to give the final order. Stuttering in fear, the emperor gives the command to proceed. A guard shouts the order to purify the royal blood tainted by the demon. In response, the dragon opens its maw and lets out another thunderous, fiery roar. Task. As the dragon attacks, Puffin clicks her tongue in annoyance while Eiglet watches in shock. With a burst of power, Puffin summons a massive magical shield, blocking the dragon's path. The shield holds, but Puffin realizes with dread that she's too weak from a previous fight to maintain her full power. Kia! The shield shatters under the strain, sending both girls flying backward. As she's thrown back, Eiglet is startled to find that the impact has loosened the ropes binding her hands. Catching the weakened Puffin, Eiglet desperately asks why she protected her. Tears streaming down her face, Puffin explains that the Demon King desperately needs her. Her expression hardening with resolve, Eiglet promises she won't let Puffin die here. Leaning in close, she whispers that everything she does is for the Demon King's sake. With her hands untied, Eiglet gently holds the bound and confused Puffin. Standing protectively before Puffin, Eiglet tells her to stay strong, vowing to end this herself. The nobles murmur in confusion, questioning why a demon protected the princess and whether she's truly allied with them. The stepmother scoffs, believing the dragon is holding back for some reason. Kia! A powerful vortex of blue energy erupts around Eiglet. She walks calmly through the throne room, leaving a trail of shimmering blue magic in her wake. A voice notes that while she was once timid, her face is now full of confidence. Stunned, the stepmother recognizes this newfound strength, realizing it's just like someone she once knew. A memory flashes back to a younger stepmother and a pink-haired girl making flower crowns in a field. The pink-haired girl excitedly presents her finished crown, calling out to her friend, Maina, "It's done." The young stepmother, Maina, smiles and praises the girl, Iris, for her talent. Back in the present, the memory leaves the stepmother shaken and horrified. As Heron recalls his stepsister Iris's similar fate, he realizes Eiglet must be eliminated, just as the dragon unleashes a massive fireball. Eiglet stands firm against the approaching inferno, seemingly unafraid. She holds out her palm, effortlessly gathering the dragon's fire into a sphere of raw energy. Clenching her fist, she absorbs the immense power in a brilliant flash. Surprised, Eiglet admits she absorbed the power completely and finds it difficult to control. A confident, knowing smile spreads across her face. She faces the beast, declaring she'll now grant its wish and kill it, telling it to come at her with its full power. The dragon roars, unleashing another torrent of powerful flames directly at her. Eiglet raises a hand, effortlessly blocking the fiery blast with a wall of pure light. With a determined expression, she contains the raw fiery power in a glowing orb between her hands. Pressing her palms together, she begins to purify the volatile energy. With her eyes closed peacefully, she holds the stabilized, radiant orb of light. The dragon lowers its head as Eiglet smiles and offers back the purified energy, announcing she's returning it. A blinding flash of holy light erupts from the energy transfer, engulfing the room. The royal family shield their eyes, reeling back in shock from the intense blast. The stepmother stares in utter disbelief, whispering that it's impossible. As the light fades, Eiglet stands before a pile of ash where the dragon once was, a single red gem left behind. She gently cradles the red gem, softly promising to make sure it gets home safely. A black raven lands on her shoulder as she stands resolutely over the ashes. The nobles cry out in terror, calling her abnormal for consorting with a demon and warning everyone to stay away. The raven on her shoulder calmly asks what she plans to do next. Eiglet turns her attention to her terrified stepmother, coldly uttering her name.